Welcome to the Therapist Uncut podcast, where off-the-clock therapists who happen to be friends share their uncensored thoughts about real life. Join us weekly in spreading positivity and making mental health relatable through casual conversation, inspirational stories, and real talk with friends who happen to be therapists. Please welcome your co-hosts, Nikki Young, Jolene Daly, and Alyssa Nahara.
Welcome back, Therapist Uncut listeners. My name is Alyssa Nahara, and I'm here with my lovely co-hosts, Jolene Daly and Nikki Young. And today we are going to be talking about Dr. Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah. Or relationships in general.
Raise your hand if you're in a relationship. Oh, I guess all three of us are.
Right? Yeah.
If you've ever been in a relationship, you know that relationships are really fucking hard. They are super difficult. They're amazing, but they take work, right? So Dr. Gary Chapman wrote this book called The 5 Love Languages in the 90s, and it is still a really big hit because he hits on a lot of key points that come up in most relationships. So today we are going to summarize some of those for you, and hopefully you will find them helpful in your relationships.
And I love using this book because not only are relationships hard, but sometimes you think you're doing so well, and then you find out that the other person doesn't think that. And that's, I think, one area where oftentimes this book can really come into play and be super helpful for couples.
I absolutely agree with you, Nikki, there, where you have one person who might say that the relationship is doing really well, and then the other person who's like, nah, not so much. And usually it's a surprise. For me, it seems like most of the time it is these love languages or the idea of love. How do I receive love or how do I give love to be able to tell the other person that I love them? Like if I'm telling you that I love you and being sarcastic, are you going to take that? Is that going to be, you're going to be like, why in the world is she speaking to me that way?
Yeah, so this book really talks about that, there's 2 ways to express love. You give love, you show love, and then you receive it. How do you experience it? And so, there's times when I've got couples who one member of the couple is actually going out of their way to show love, or what they think they're doing is showing love, but it's not being received that way. And so they're definitely surprised when the other person says, yeah, no, it's not really been going very well. And they're like, wait, what? I've been going out of my way to do this, and this, or say this, and this. And it's just falling on deaf ears because it's not meeting that other person's love language. So that's what we're here to talk about today, because I'm guessing some of you listening are identifying with this thus far.
Especially right now when they're at home, or some people are at home together 24/7. I told my husband in the beginning of the pandemic, I don't think that either of us would have survived if we had to be home, if we weren't essential workers.
No, it's amazing. People's marriages and relationships are really getting tested right now because everybody is at home so much, and all of the restrictions, at least in our country, all the restrictions that are put in place and in several countries around the world right now. I would encourage you, if you have not read this book yet, do read it.
Now you're lucky. I think you can also listen to it. So that's a really fabulous thing. I want to step back a little bit, and I have no idea where I heard this from, so I can't give the person credit.
Are you stepping back, or are you shuffling back since you're old?
Shuffling.
Okay. Shuffle back a few
Clarification.
steps.
So I want to make sure that we go back to the whole idea of love being a commitment. So yes, love is emotion. Love is something that you want to show your partner. Love is also a commitment. It's making the decision that you're going to be with that person and you're going to commit to them through thick and thin and
through Corona and 20.
Right?
No,
Corona and not Corona.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect example of that, right? But not only has the pandemic caused increased time together for many individuals, which just increases the opportunity for conflict to arise and for us to get on each other's nerves, but it's just increased stress in general. And what do we know? We know that we often take that out on the people around us when maybe they deserve. This is something I always try to keep in mind, is that person probably is the one that deserves the best from us, but they often get the short end of the stick. So my challenge to you guys right now listening to this is increase time together. Okay, maybe some of you are struggling because it's just getting on each other's nerves and such. What if you take this as an opportunity to use this time to get better at loving each other? That's my challenge. Why not? Take it back to the days when you guys were dating. If you had that time together, if you didn't, this is your chance to date your mate. I love that phrase. Date your mate.
Right. I like that. And you really can take it back to when you were dating, because typically when most of us or many of us were dating, we were poor. And a walk down the road was a date.
And we would have killed for just uninterrupted time with somebody, right? I mean,
Right.
It's very interrupted right now, but we got a whole heck of a lot more time with someone. A lot of us. Some people I recognize have a lot less. Those out there are medical workers and such probably have a lot less time right now. So this is speaking directly to those who have significantly more time with your mate.
Yeah.
I agree. Taking this and viewing it as an opportunity to see what you can do differently. Typically, when you're in a relationship, you stop and you think, where's the last 5, 6 years gone? When was the last time I kissed my partner? When was the last time we hugged or we held hands or talked about something that wasn't about the kids or wasn't about work? So I would encourage you, along with Nikki and Jolene, to kind of assess where you guys are right now and really take this as an opportunity. Yes, this episode is a sign for you who is listening. Okay, guys, let's
date your mate. All right.
Date your mate.
Let's talk about the 5. Let's give people some concrete ways to date your mate. 5 love languages. So for those of you who have not read the book, Jolene, what are we talking about when we talk about the 5 love languages?
So right there is 8 dates. If there are 8 chapters, like each chapter is a date. It's perfect. You can have and go through it together and find out what is your love language. So there's different ways that each person receives love and gives love. There's words of affirmation, so speaking positively about the other person, the I love yous, the thank yous, the honey, the sugar, whatever you do to call that other person.
Right?
Yeah.
Beyond just the taglines, the I love yous, which can roll off the tongue without any thought, but also the very specific words of affirmation, right? Like, hey, I really appreciated when you filled up the gas in my car, right? Or, hey, you look amazing tonight, or very specifics also, rather than just kind of keep it to the, because I say that for those of you out there who don't give love with words of affirmation, but your partner receives love with words of affirmation, because it could be easy to just be like, oh, I said I love you. But no, dig deeper, man. Dig deeper.
Good point. You have to stretch. That's the reason that it's important to sit down and do the love languages book with your partner so that you know what your partner's love language is. And then you have to turn around and stretch. Especially, I've worked with couples where one individual's love language, their partner's love language is like their bottom love language. So that person has to really work at getting up there to be able to help their partner understand that they really do love them.
Yeah. And when she says bottom, you can actually get on the website, the 5 Love Languages website, and take a quiz that kind of helps you identify. I mean, if you're reading the book, then you'll start to identify what works for you. But if you take the quiz, it actually gives you kind of percentages. And if you take it multiple times, it can change a little bit. But overall, it gives you a pretty consistent picture of what really identifies with you.
So when you guys are talking about, it's more than just the I love yous, that's totally speaking to me. When my husband tells me how beautiful I look this morning when I'm still in my pajamas, or how good breakfast was when it was literally just eggs and toast, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for noticing that I made you breakfast, even though I am so busy. That's my language. And so these guys are talking about percentages. That's my top love language. And if you are not someone who's used to this, like, it could be hard. But being, especially if Nikki, if this is yours, when you hear those, it like fills our soul when you give us words of affirmation.
Heck yeah.
It's beautiful. So just want to let you guys know, mine is words of affirmation. Apparently my husband knows that because he actually read the book because he's an amazing husband and encouraged me to read the book. And like I said, I haven't, but I will.
Oh, wait a minute. He encouraged you to read the book. Does that mean that he thinks that maybe you don't 100% know?
No, he is.
I totally have no idea. I have languages, and we've been married for like 10 years. This is why I don't see couples. I got to figure out my own marriage first.
Here's a really great example for those of you that are out there that are listening and being like, words of affirmation. Really, I don't fluff me with some stupid word.
It's true.
Get your butt out there and do something. Don't tell me like, I don't care.
Go
So
do something.
I am very much about words in general, not just with my partner. I like words, and Stacy, my wife, is words of affirmation, let's just say, are not her love language. So yes, when we got married and before she started her vows, she said, Nikki likes words. So Nikki's gonna get some words. And then we had like she had 20 minutes of vows every I'm not even
I was
kidding.
at this wedding. It was
Alyssa
actually
was-
beautiful. Stacy did a wonderful job with her
Yes.
vows.
No. I was on cloud nine the whole time because I got 20 minutes of amazing words, but it was just funny because she was very aware.
Did she tell you that was it? That was all you were getting?
It better last a lifetime.
Right here.
Listen up. No, it was fantastic. Yes, and like Alyssa said, as somebody who words of affirmation are my love language, it was amazing. It was just funny because it was specifically identified that here you go, here's your love language.
Yeah.
Now, when Jolene said some of us don't really want words of affirmation, some of us are go do something, what is that love language called?
Acts of service.
And tell us a little bit more about acts of service, Jolene.
Look she got all excited. Did you see her happy face?
Take out the stinking trash.
The most simple thing
Put your
could mean.
socks in the laundry basket.
You sound like my wife.
Where's Jason? We need Jason's input on this. Jason is Jolene's husband, by the way, guys.
Only hers is take your stuff out of your pockets before you put it in the laundry bag.
Oh, yes. I get golf tees all the time. It irritates the heck out of
She
me.
gets pens, which I gotta say, sometimes the pens get in the and chapstick, and it gets in the washer, and I'm like,
And then it gets, not good.
I would like to say I am a recovering pocket filler-upper. I now empty my pockets.
Good.
And your wife is probably ecstatic, right?
And I'm very confused because as a words of affirmation person, I'm just like, I took my chapstick out of my pocket. I'm glad it makes you so happy. I've had to learn.
Because for some of us, actions speak louder than words.
And if this is resonating with you, then acts of service may be one of your primary love languages. Something to consider.
Walk your talk, right? And not just handle your own shit, but also help out your person if I'm understanding acts of service correctly, right? So
Yes.
walking your talk, right? You're telling me you love me. I also have 12 meetings today. I'm going to get off. The kids have to go pick up the kid. There's little things like that, right? And it doesn't have to be, from what I'm understanding, Jolene, correct me, it doesn't have to be these humongous displays of, it can be small things throughout the day.
It really could. Like you brought up the idea of 12 meetings in one day. You could actually just say, honey, is there anything that I can do for you today? Even if you can't do anything, just that little bit of I'm willing to do something for you could be enough in that moment.
Acts of service is actually my second highest rated. So I definitely hear you. When I get a cup of coffee, I love coffee. So when I show up to the office and there's a cup of coffee on my desk, I'm like, oh my God,
Man, Anthony is killing it.
I know
Thank
Anthony's
you for
great.
breakfast. You look beautiful, and here's your coffee.
So this is what happened apparently when he read the book last summer, is he read it and he applied it. And I remember that moment because I was like, damn, he is amazing. He's doing great stuff, but I didn't make the connection that he is doing it because he's actually implementing the things he learned in the 5 love
In the
languages book.
Oh, I love it. Good job, Anthony. Acts of service, I actually, if I officially take the quiz, it's like 3% for me. So not a big thing.
Oh.
Apparently, I like to do my own stuff. That is one, I will admit, this is one that didn't come naturally for me because, well, that sounds funny. Like I don't like to do things for people. I think I'm going to put my own relationship out here for people to learn from. My wife is a very, very, very competent, independent individual. And I would have never guessed that she liked the acts of service, because she is so completely competent and a little bit on the independent, I got this myself side. So that is one that was a learning experience for me. And then once, because of things like this book, you're able to learn this about your partner and make changes and apply them. I'm going to throw myself under the bus here. I didn't know how to make coffee because I don't drink coffee.
And all she wanted was some damn coffee.
I didn't know how to make coffee. Had never made coffee in my entire life. It's very simple, I realized. And now I'm kind of a little bit obsessive about it. Like, I got to get the best beans, and everything. And I didn't know how to make coffee because I don't drink coffee. So that's kind of embarrassing to admit. But I make coffee now.
What is our next love language?
This is one I find odd because I really don't care about. It's receiving gifts.
I'm going to pause you right there. What did you just say? You find it odd. And I think that is how people feel about if it's not your love language, it feels odd.
Odd.
Why would somebody that's odd? But it's not for that person. For many people, words of affirmation, mine, feel odd. Like lip service to many people, right? So I think you just hit the nail on the head that when it's not yours, it feels odd.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable. But if that is what your partner's language is, it takes effort to deliver that, right?
Now, Dr. Chapman is not suggesting that you go into significant debt and buy, a Lexus with a bow every Christmas in the park, in the driveway, etc. But this can be little things like you ran to the store and you pick some flowers on the side of the road on the way home, right? It doesn't have to be monetary, and it doesn't have to be significant monetary gifts, but this can be any form of gift giving.
Making sure that you recognize the other person, the relationship, the receiving gifts really needs to be meaningful. Then it blends in other love languages as well. So for somebody not in my relationship, giving me a bottle of sand, like if my significant other gave me a bottle of sand, for some people you'd be like, okay, what the heck is that? For me, we go often to Carmel because we can vacation with our dog. And so a bottle of sand or a little jar of sand would be a perfect gift so that I can remember Carmel in Modesto where there are no beaches.
I'm throwing my dad under the bus on this one. So my dad is a horrible gift giver, and I try so hard to help, and it's gotten to the point where he's recognized it, so he will seek it out from the rest of the family. Sorry, Dad, I love you, but you suck at this. He buys gifts that he would enjoy, and it's not. My dad is the least selfish person that walks this planet. He is the most giving, selfless person I have ever met. So I don't know how this happens, but for their anniversary, he's done things like get my mom a rubber-handled wheelbarrow so she didn't get splinters from a wooden-handled wheelbarrow.
I would be pissed. I would be
I'm pretty sure she does. But it's this complete disconnect because that's not, it makes it sound like a selfish person, but he's not. He's the kindest guy I know, but he just doesn't get it. For one of my mom's birthdays, he bought her wind chimes. My mom doesn't give a fuck about wind chimes. He spent the next 45 minutes walking around the property finding the best place to hang them.
That is a great example of what not to do if your partner loves receiving gifts.
If you include a diamond bracelet on the wheelbarrow handle, add a little something to it. For those that like diamonds, or bracelets, I really could care less about either. So that's, you
put some sand in her wheelbarrow.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it. So that's a great example. When I was first dating my husband, he bought me jewelry, and I thought it was beautiful. I am consciously working on being mindful because I'm very forgetful. I have lost every single piece of jewelry he's ever given me but my wedding ring.
Oh.
But he thought it was, and it was not on purpose, but that just wasn't, I don't know. I just, and now he doesn't buy me jewelry, and I'm okay with that because I just lose it. But early on, he thought that would be so kind to give me a bracelet or a necklace. And it was. In the moment, I was so excited. And within a week, it was gone. I don't know what. So now that I'm having this episode, I am such a shitty wife. Oh my God, we need to get into marital counseling. I'll let y'all know how that goes.
It's great that you acknowledge it, though.
Where did all these diamonds go?
The vacuum cleaner, like the beach. I'm sure I lost something. I don't even know. I'm sorry, Anthony.
Oh. Maybe Jolene can find it in her sand.
It might be in Jolene's bottle.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That would be quite serendipitous.
It's important to recognize your downfalls. If you're really horrible at giving gifts, then just let the other person know, like, okay, yeah, I could really use some hints here because I have no idea.
And some people are difficult to buy for.
Yeah, I'm told I'm one of those people that are very difficult to buy for.
And not just buy, like give, right? Some people are really hard to figure it out. Some people are a little more straightforward and so acknowledging it, owning it, and getting some tips and feedback. Jason, Jolene would like some sand.
That's a hint. All right, love language number 4. Where do we want to go next?
Let's do physical touch.
All right, physical touch it is. So physical touch could be holding my hand, giving me a hug. And before taking this quiz, I would have told you that mine is physical touch. Sometimes when I am in high emotions, all I want is a hug. But apparently that is the least important thing to me, according to this quiz as of today. So it could be a foot massage, a neck massage, cuddling on the couch, anything that involves any kind of physical intimacy with your partner.
So I want to add in here just a little hint. Physical intimacy that does not lead to, okay, so if there are any children in the listening, plug your ears, does not lead to sex.
It can. Right? It's two different routes, right? So physical touch and sexual intimacy can be somebody's love language, but then there's also the physical touch and intimacy that does not necessarily lead to sex.
You want to make sure that you know which is.
Yeah, so if your partner's love language is physical touch, but they don't want to have sex all the time, good way to clarify that. What kind of physical touch are you talking about? This is
That's
not
where the communication comes into play.
Because you're gonna make somebody really angry if you're starting off with a foot rub and then you expect something.
Unless they want something after their foot rub.
Exactly.
So this is where talking about these things comes into play.
Clarification. And that hopefully on another episode, we will have that interpreting male, female, or partner speech.
Yes.
I have somebody that I know that I love the way that she talks about, she calls them, so I don't always, in an appropriate area, I don't mind my husband grabbing me in certain areas.
We're getting deep now.
Right. I'm being appropriate because we don't know who's listening to the podcast.
Hopefully grown-ups.
Hopefully. So this individual calls them, I don't mind kitchen drive-bys.
Oh.
Kitchen drive-bys.
Yeah.
Just therapist uncut to therapist uncensored. Kitchen drive-bys.
So if you're cooking on the stove, or if you're cooking bacon or something greasy, if you're
So
cooking,
dangerous.
If you're washing dishes, just drive by.
Let's look into that. Yeah.
Wipe, like a rub on the back or something.
Oh, okay. I was curious, like a little butt squeeze or something like that. Okay.
Right.
I was trying to follow.
Jolene's actually being very appropriate, and apparently Nikki is like way on the other side.
No, we gotta identify. You gotta be very direct of talking about these things.
You could. So I would not on the podcast just because that's not me. There could be other things that you grab. It just depends on your partner. You want to make sure that with your partner it's okay.
Yes, making sure that is okay. That is where the communication comes into play, so we are not misunderstanding what these physical intimacy needs are of your partner.
And when you speak with your partner, I understand we're we're on a podcast here. We're not airing out all of the intimacies of our relationships on a podcast. However, when you are speaking with your person, please be very specific. Because when you kind of are vague, or maybe it's a little uncomfortable or embarrassing, or you don't think you should have to be that direct because they should just get it, it's not going to work. So please, when you're talking with your partner, be very concrete, be very direct, explain things so that you are on the same page, because you might throw something out there, the other person thinks they get it, and then they go down one lane and you're just over there feeling unloved and unheard.
Mm-hmm.
It just wastes a lot of time. So be direct, be concrete, and be very explicit about what your needs are.
Absolutely. Clear and concise, because if you're vague, they're going to interpret it the way that they hear it, not necessarily the way that you're saying it.
And then it's going to get real confusing because you're trying it, you're doing it, and they don't like it, and now you're feeling defeated. There's going to be a hot mess. And our final love language from Dr. Gary Chapman is
quality time.
Quality time. That does not mean sitting next to each other on the couch on your phones.
Well, it can. Okay, so it can for some people, I guess.
I am arguing that one. That might be time spent. That is not quality time spent. Somebody might sit in front of you in your office and tell you that that works for them, but that is not quality time with your partner. That might be decompression time. That might be addiction to social media. That might be something we need to look at, but it is not quality time with your partner. Unless maybe there are some apps for relationships where it prompts questions or love challenges that you can do for one another. So if you're incorporating that into your quality time, that is one thing. Sitting on the couch, parallel lives, doing your own thing on your own social media, I'm going to argue that you might say you enjoy that, but it is not quality time with your partner. I'm off my soapbox now.
I completely agree with you, Nikki. Unless the quality time for an individual is to decompress. So if one partner is quality time and they just need to decompress, and the other partner, they need that partner sitting there with them as that decompression quality time, they may not care what the other partner's doing. They really just need their physical body sitting next to them.
Then I would say that's physical touch. I need you sitting next to me, touching me while I decompress personally. I would argue that quality time is focused attention on one another, uninterrupted, one-on-one. And I think Dr. Chapman actually identifies that as focused, uninterrupted time. I would argue that that could be a love language, the physical touch piece, while I personally disconnect and decompress. Because especially if somebody's overstimulated, maybe someone's highly anxious, they need to do a mindfulness exercise, whatever, they are doing their own personal thing that is for them and asking you to supplement with physical touch.
I am digging this debate because I know there are listeners that are like, nope, Jolene's right. No, Nikki's definitely right. So yeah, I think you guys are able to speak to both sides.
Right. And that is the point. You have to talk to your partner about what you need. Quality time for me is, don't take me to a fancy dinner. Don't take me to the movies. Don't take me to, don't take me someplace like that. I want to drive in the car. I want to walk on the beach. I want to just go for a walk in the neighborhood. I want to do all of those kind of just basic things.
If Jason is not already listening to this episode, we are going to send it to him.
I think I'm going to say,
this is what your wife needs.
Make sure with the air date.
He's actually really good with the quality time. The only one that he doesn't like that I like is the driving in the car. Because I could sit and drive in the car. I could go for weeks. I've driven cross country, not we as in me and Jason, myself and my mom, or myself and my mom and dad. We've done that like 3 or 4 times. I can't remember exactly how many times. So I could do that. He could not.
To sum it up for you guys, we have 5 love languages from Dr. Gary Chapman's original publishing in the 90s. And they are: number 1, words of affirmation. Number 2, physical touch. Number 3, acts of service. Number 4, quality time. And number 5, receiving gifts, right?
Yes.
This one. If any of these things resonated with you, I encourage you to explore these concepts more through his book. We will have the book title and the author on our show notes, so please go to our website at therapistuncut.com for all of those details.
And I challenge you to use, if you have increased time with your partner, and if you have decreased time, make better use of it, right? By really connecting with each other in the way that is meaningful to each person. But I'm challenging you. Use this time. Try the tools. Use the book. Explore each other's love language. I don't really see how it could go wrong if you do it appropriately.
And if you enjoyed this episode or if you hated it, please head over to wherever you get your podcast or wherever you watch this video and leave us a rating. We truly, truly want to hear from you, and we appreciate any feedback. Subscribe as well if you haven't subscribed yet. So thank you for allowing us into your lives and helping us make mental health relatable and a part of your everyday conversation. We are Therapist Uncut, and we will see you next Monday for a whole new episode.
Thank you for joining Therapist Uncut, a production of AMP Smart Business. To learn more about Therapist Uncut and stay up on upcoming episodes, please subscribe and follow us on social media. As a reminder, although the Therapist Uncut co-hosts are licensed therapists, they are not your therapists. This podcast is not intended to substitute professional mental health counseling. If you need professional therapy, please contact your local provider or primary care provider. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Therapist Uncut.